Did you know Super Awesome Mix has an app? Go to the Apple App Store today and download Super Awesome Mix. It's free. You could start creating and sending your own digital mixtapes in just a few clicks. Also, there's links to our Instagram account and a link where you can follow your favorite podcast. Speaking of which, welcome back to another Super Awesome Mix. My name is Matt Sidholm, alongside my co-host and co-founder of Super Awesome Mix, Samer Abu Salbi. Samer, how are we doing this week?
Doing real well, enjoying that fall weather. And, I actually went to the movies for the first time in like 4 years recently. So
4 years? Wow.
Yeah, it had been a minute. It really had.
What movie did you see?
I went and saw The Nun 2 because I'm a big horror film fan. And, it was okay. I think the problem with scary movies is that you watch enough of them and then you just become really desensitized to them and you need bigger and bigger scares to get you interested. And at this point, it's like everything is like a kiddie roller coaster. I'm just like, yeah, that was okay.
Well, it's like the Saw movies, how they just kept having to ramp up like the insane ways they murdered people in those.
Right.
It was just like, oh my, this isn't even like clever anymore. It's just.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's too much. But yeah, of course, I'm bringing up movies because we have a movie soundtrack mix today. It's one that I think we've talked about maybe, once or twice before on the show, but what's really fun about movie soundtracks, in my opinion, is like they're kind of like mixtapes. It's an album that comes out with a movie, and they're put together by someone on the staff. Whether it's a director or some kind of music director or someone. But I think they can make for really nice little mixtapes, and it's a great way to discover a lot of music all at once.
Yeah, and it's always fun when you like the movie and the soundtrack when those go hand in hand, because then you're just sitting there. Like I know with a lot of my picks, and then even with your picks, like I was imagining the movie in my head because I remembered the song from it, and I was like, no, this
right.
is. So that's also kind of fun. It kind of enhances the experience of listening to the music or watching the movie or both. So this one's always fun and kind of reminds us of our other super awesome mix show, The Battle, where Jen Tully and I are trying to determine the best 80s movie soundtrack song. So if you haven't listened to that and subscribed yet, it's got its own feed, so check out The Battle, and I think you're really going to enjoy it.
It is a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, and the 80s is a great place to start for movie soundtracks, I believe. There's some good stuff in there.
All right, well, I don't think we have too many 80s songs on this mix, but we've got some great ones, so let's get into it. Your first pick, you go with Lebanese Blonde by Thievery Corporation, and this is from the movie Garden State.
Yeah, Garden State has such a good soundtrack. This is, I could have picked literally any song off of this soundtrack. There was like, I think Nick Drake on here, Frou Frou, The Shins, 07, Iron and Wine, like just amazing. I believe, I'm willing to guess that Zach Braff had his hand in picking out a lot of these songs, if not all of them, because he was really into music, and in the show Scrubs also, he was really, influential in terms of like the music that they used with every single scene. And Scrubs as a TV show also had great music. So I think that, it makes sense because this was his directorial debut, this movie Garden State. I always love Lebanese Blonde. I was introduced to a lot of bands because of this movie. So Thievery Corporation is a good one. I saw them live at ACL, super chill, loungy band. I had no idea until this is a classic super awesome mix moment. This is about a drug called Lebanese Blonde. It's a strand of hashish. I had no idea. I'm just, like that naive guy being like, oh yeah, it's about like a Lebanese blonde person. And it's like, nope, it's about drugs, you fool.
Yeah, that was when I was researching it, I was like, of course I think of a woman first and foremost, right, when I hear the title, but then I was like, oh, shout out to your high school music teacher, okay, or high school English teacher. This is definitely a song about drugs, so.
Right. And then all of a sudden it all clicked, right? Like the lyrics made so much more sense. Like
yes.
too low to find my way, too high to wonder why. I've touched this place before, somewhere in another time. And it's like, well, yeah, obviously, Sammer, this is about drugs. Either way, it's a great movie. I haven't watched it in a while. I feel like I would enjoy it though. I think it would stand the test of time. I don't know though. It's been a minute also since seeing that, but I loved that movie growing up.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. I remember when it came out, but like you, it's not something I rewatched. I remember it being kind of sad, and maybe that's why I haven't
Yeah,
rewatched it.
yeah, I agree. It's like got a somber tone to it.
Yeah, but great soundtrack. I'm glad you included it here. And yes, I'll give Zach Braff a little credit. So if he ever wants to come on the show, we'll bring him because I feel like between Scrubs and this soundtrack, he's introduced me to a lot of different bands and a lot of great music. So I'm sure, if he was ever free, I mean, he's got that big T-Mobile money coming in now. Like he'd probably put together a great mix for us.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. Song number two, certainly not a somber one. This is a classic. You went with the theme from Shaft by Isaac Hayes, and of course, this is from the movie Shaft.
Yeah, the late great Isaac Hayes. He did a full double album for the movie Shaft. He essentially scored the album because there's really only 3 songs on the entire soundtrack that have lyrics. So it's really
Right.
just the music behind it. But this is the most notable one. He performed it at the Oscars with like a full orchestra. And again, you just listen to the song musically, and I think it's just incredible, right? And then you get the lyrics, and the lyrics are just perfect. I mean, with his voice there, I'm talking about Shaft, then we can dig it. And so it's just great. Like, I just love everything about this song, like the long intro, all the different instruments he uses. So when it came to movie soundtracks, this is the first one I had to include. It won the Oscar, by the way, for best song from a movie.
Yeah, right. And in my notes, I saw that he was actually the first African American to receive a non-acting Oscar. So yeah, 1971 Best Original Song, which is amazing. I mean, this is like an iconic song. You hit play on it, you immediately know it. And honestly, like I was really paying attention to just like kind of the jazz elements and everything. It's a very intricate song. Like I find it to be like actually musically very complex and it's really cool. But of course, yeah, like instantly you under like you can hear it in your mind like Shaft, like just that whole.
Right, right.
It's so good. Can you dig it? It's so good. It's a great song.
Yeah, if I didn't know it was Isaac Hayes, or if you didn't know that, you would almost think it's something from like Quincy Jones, because it's in that
Right.
same vein of just so many different instruments. It's so well put together. All of it. I mean, it's just great.
Yeah.
All right, track 3, you go with A Well-Respected Man, and this is by the Kinks, and it's from the movie Juno.
Yeah, I remember Juno being like a really big kind of indie crossover hit. And I really enjoyed the movie at the time. It was a lot of fun. Everyone was like quoting it, like everyone was saying "Thundercats are go" like over and over after that film came out. Um, and so at the time, I liked some of the music in it. There's like a little bit of a musical element in the song in the movie itself with them like playing the guitar and stuff. So got the soundtrack and ended up really liking the soundtrack. There's some great artists on this one. So you've got like Bell and Sebastian, you've got Cat Power, you've got Velvet Underground, and of course the Kinks here. And so, the Kinks of all of those were the ones that I had never heard of at the time. And I really enjoy this song. It's a song about a well-respected man going about town, doing his like conservative British life, basically, is like kind of who they're poking fun of. And all the different things that he does going around town. But yeah, I really enjoyed, the movie. It was fun at the time and just absolutely love the soundtrack and go back and listen to it every so often. So yeah, had to put it on here.
Yeah, that's another movie that I remember enjoying at the time, but then also wondering, like, would I still enjoy it now? Like, if I watch that movie
Same.
again, and I'm not 100% certain, but no, this is a good song, but also, like you even said, they're kind of poking fun at. So the well-respected man probably isn't as respected as they kind of indicate here in the song.
Right.
But actually, they're kind of making fun of his very kind of vanilla lifestyle and just the way he goes about things. But yeah, I mean, the Kinks are a great band. This is I love it when soundtracks kind of dig deep and bring back a song that, I don't know, you wouldn't have even thought of. I mean, I think that's kind of what the magic of a movie soundtrack is sometimes, is, putting together songs that are from different times and kind of making it work. Because I think this song was what, probably 40 years prior to the movie coming out.
Right. Yeah, easily. No, I agree. I think that's kind of the magic, and we've talked about this over and over again. But even TV shows doing that now a lot with older songs and kind of revitalizing them in the streaming era. And then all these people that never would have listened to this song are now introduced to not only the song but also the artist, and it's really cool. Cool way to do that. All right, track number 4, your next pick. You went with Miss Misery by Elliott Smith, and I believe from Good Will Hunting.
That is correct. Sadly, Elliott Smith is no longer with us. He was an amazing songwriter and singer. This soundtrack the score of this movie is by Danny Elfman, but then Elliott Smith contributed 6 songs to this soundtrack. And so obviously this movie was massive for introducing us to Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, right? It wasn't their movie debut, but this is by far their biggest hit when they were super young. But yeah, they also introduced us to Elliott Smith, and he has a very this gets nominated for an Oscar, this song. And so he has to perform at the Oscars, and that's worth looking up because he just does not look comfortable on stage, but he still performs this song quite well. So yeah, that's definitely worth checking out. But I don't know. I've always loved this song. It plays in the credits of the movie as Matt Damon is kind of heading out on his cross country journey. And yeah, I don't know. It's a sad song, but it's also one that, I don't know, has always stayed with me. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. And so, I don't know, had to include it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not your fault, Matt. All right, just want to let you know. It's not your fault. um, so good. Yes, Good Will Hunting, great movie. I actually didn't watch it until much later in my life. It was like one of those moments where I had mentioned I'd never seen it, and like everyone in the room was like, "You've never seen Good Will Hunting?" It was like one of those, and it's like, "No, I've never seen it," and so I had to watch it. But you're right. Like Elliott Smith, oh my goodness, like I was familiar with him from the American Beauty soundtrack. Actually, like I think that might have been my first introduction to his songs, which was a tremendously depressing film, and he tends to kind of have a tremendously depressing voice. Like I think he's just really good, and I don't mean that as a dig at him, but I think he's really good at like producing that kind of a sound, and his songs tend to have a very somber, kind of melody to them, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. But every time I listen to his music, I do instantly kind of feel like a little bit sadder than whenever I started it. So I think that's a great power, for sure.
That's true. That's true. Okay, track 5, you've got Heroes by David Bowie, and this was featured in the movie Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yeah, I loved that book. And so I was excited to see that it got made into a movie, and I liked the movie. Like I haven't seen it ever since like it came out, but I really enjoyed it. At least I don't know at the time. It's also been a minute for some of these, but I do still really love the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack has again a lot of really good artists on it. Here you've got the Smiths, you've got Sonic Youth, you've got Ecstasy, and of course this track here by David Bowie, which is a really good track. What's really funny is that, this song gets played a lot now because it features the title Heroes, and we can be heroes for just one day. But he's actually talking about like him witnessing someone having an affair for just one day. And so he's kind of singing thematically of like, well, this relationship's never going to go anywhere. It's doomed from the start. And in fact, apparently this affair like took place by the Berlin Wall. And he even makes he has a comment about that. I thought of all places to meet in Berlin, why pick a bench underneath a guard turret on the wall? Which is a fair question, David. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful song, but it's just kind of funny because I think it's one of those where it kind of gets misused because it mentions, heroes, but again, it's just about people having a one day or weekend relationship or what have you. So pretty funny in that regard. But yeah, I love the soundtrack and really enjoyed the book.
Well, musically, it's kind of triumphant in a sense. Like, so not only do the lyrics kind of mention heroes, but it kind of builds a little bit. So it's like, yeah, it's been used in a ton of movies in like a critical moment. So yeah, there's a lot of misinterpretation out there, but it's funny when I was looking at the playlist that you sent over and I saw the title Heroes and it's from the movie Perks of Being a Wallflower. I immediately connected the two and thought you were picking the version of Heroes done by the Wallflowers for the Godzilla soundtrack, because that was a thing. right? And I was like, if he's featuring the soundtrack to Godzilla, I'm like, does he like this movie, or is he just a fan of the soundtrack? Because that was kind of a blockbuster soundtrack, but I really would have been, it really threw me off for a second. And then I looked a little closer and I was like, okay, this tracks better with what I know of Sammer.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I know, I realized that almost every one of my albums has basically like the Venn diagram is just a circle. Like there's no Venn diagram. Like they're just basically all the same soundtracks over and over. There's so many band repeats. Oh goodness. All right. Well, your next pick is certainly different than any of mine. And you went with Lookin for Love by Johnny Lee. And I believe I have not seen this movie, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's from Urban Cowboy from
Yes.
1980.
And I kind of bet myself $1 you had not seen Urban Cowboy.
Yeah,
I've seen Urban Cowboy like 100 times, and I think you're going to hate it, but I also want you to see it. And so I don't know how you feel about that. Okay. It stars John Travolta. Okay. Do I need to keep going, or are you in?
Yeah. Sign me up. Travolta's
Done.
on it. I'm there.
John Travolta and Deborah Winger. Okay.
Okay.
Do you know who Deborah Winger is?
I do not. The name sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't tell you much more than that.
Deborah Winger was like the 80s version of Minnie Driver. Does that help?
Okay. No. Like defining a word with another word I don't know.
Okay, I want fans out there to give me a little credit for that analogy, because I feel like that's a really good analogy, okay? Deborah Winger starred in a lot of notable movies, okay, but was never quite became a super A-list like megastar, okay?
Okay.
And kind of same thing with Minnie Driver. It's like you've probably seen a handful of Minnie Driver movies, including the aforementioned Good Will Hunting, right? But it's like there's all sorts of megastars around her, but she was never quite the megastar, right? Like Deborah Winger starred in a movie called Legal Eagles with Robert Redford. So it's like Robert Redford and Deborah Winger. Like it was equal billing.
Sure, yeah.
And you've never heard of this person. So anyway, ridiculous movie. It centers around a like honky tonk bar in the early 80s just outside of Houston and riding a mechanical bull. Do I need to keep? And now are you in?
Now I'm in. Oh my God. All of my favorite things. Country music, mechanical bulls.
Now, this soundtrack, it's like a double album. Okay. Urban Cowboy, very much of the time, a lot of country music. This was sort of a big thing for country music, right? Because it kind of got a little mainstream love from this movie because John Travolta was this massive star at the time. Like just a couple of years earlier, he had done Saturday Night Fever. And obviously that had done big things for disco. And so now he was in this movie that featured a lot of country music, including this song, Lookin for Love, which plays, I believe, during the credits, but also at some other point, I think, in the movie. But it's a great song, I think, standing, by itself. But yeah, this movie is just absurd. And again, I'm 90% sure you'll hate it, but I really want you to see it.
Okay, well, maybe. I got a flight coming up. Maybe I'll just be that angry person sitting in the chair watching this film.
Just take notes.
Flight attendant.
Just take notes.
Yeah.
We'll record like an extra segment for the show and maybe just release it on a different day. Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Track 7. You go with Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want by the Smiths. And this is from 500 Days of Summer.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, again, speaking of soundtracks that basically are all the same, this mix here features some other greats. Regina Spektor makes an appearance for the first time. Feist, which is very similar to Frou Frou. Simon and Garfunkel, Hall & Oates, just a great mix on this movie soundtrack, 500 Days of Summer, which is actually a movie I have seen a whole bunch of times and continue to watch. I think it's still really, really good. I really do love that movie. I feel like it's basically the story of an avoidant person. Like if you're familiar with relationship types, she is an avoidant and like he gets trapped in that. And so watching it with knowing that, like it's really interesting and you can kind of commiserate with what it's like to date an avoidant person. But that is, about the film. The song itself is great. It's like kind of the proof that like music sometimes, like story, like poetry doesn't need a lot of words to tell a story. This is literally just two verses and it's a very short song, but I think it like immediately tells you everything you need to know about who they're singing about. Um, which I really love. And I think that that's like a very cool, power of songwriting, and, songwriting and poetry sometimes go hand in hand. So really love this song. I think it's beautifully done. And like I said, I think, it tells a story in very short amount of time.
Okay, so I haven't seen 500 Days of Summer, and I've had more than one person tell me I need to see 500 Days of Summer. So
It's good.
yeah, now that
Yeah.
you're bringing it up again, I feel like I gotta find it and watch it sometime soon. But yeah, this is a pretty good Smiths song. You know, the Smiths are not a band that's in my normal rotation because I find a lot of their music to be really depressing. But
Yep.
that's not to
Yep.
say it's not good. It's just not something.
Sure.
I mean, we kind of said that about Elliott Smith earlier, right? Like he's not exactly a pick me up, but that's good music, right? Um,
Yes.
but yeah, this is a good one, and you're exactly right. It really does quickly kind of tell a story. Like you know exactly everything about this person, right? Like they're obviously in kind of a bad place, or at least a place they're on a run of bad luck. How about we say it that way? And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
knowing that's kind of part of the movie, it kind of piques my interest as to what the resolution will ultimately be.
Awesome. All right, track number 8. I believe another movie I've not seen, if I got the movie right that it's featured from. So it's Falling Slowly. I believe Swell Season is the artist, so that's Glen Hansard and Marketa Irglova, and it's from the movie Once.
Yeah, I feel like now people know the musical once more than they know
Hmm.
the movie. Like, in fact, I was talking to someone who had recently seen the musical. The musical had a run here in Dallas, and I was like, "Oh, I love that movie." And they're like, "I didn't even know it was a movie." I was like, "It started as a movie. It's a really good." Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing this and was just blown away. You know, it's about two musicians in Ireland who meet up and kind of their relationship, and all the while they're performing the songs, they're also acting in the movie, and so it's kind of an impressive double play by these two. And I remember buying the soundtrack just immediately, and so it's one that I can definitely listen to beginning to end. And I wasn't surprised when it transitioned into a musical, just because throughout the movie you get these musical interstitials, but they're not like random like in a musical where they're really trying to
Hmm.
shoehorn in a song. It's like it's about two musicians, so of course they would sing in certain situations, right? The
That's
movie's
cool.
written and directed by John Carney, and he actually has a new movie out where he does the same thing, where you get stars as musicians singing throughout the movie. It's called Flora and Son, and it's on Apple TV, but it's also featured on our sister show, What Are You Listening To? Okay, last week's episode. And What Are You Listening To, if you didn't know, was the 2023 Music Podcast of the Year. And it's right here on our podcast network. So if you like Once, check out Flora and Son, and then join Jen and her friend Hillary talking about it on last week's episode of that show.
That's cool. I didn't realize it was the same person. That's awesome.
Yeah, and in
But yeah.
Flora and Son, the actress is Bono's daughter. So, I mean,
Oh, nice. Okay,
yeah,
that's cool. I did not know that.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of music
A
connection
lot of
there.
music connection. A lot of music
I
connection.
like it.
Okay, so let's take a hard left turn with track 9. Okay, your pick, and I'm so glad you picked this one. This is What's Up Danger by Blackway and Black Caviar, and it is from Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse.
Yeah, oh my gosh, this album is so good. I still listen to it all the time, multiple times throughout the year. It's one of my go-to like workout albums that if I'm in the mood rather than listening to like a playlist or a mix and I just want an album that I listen to start to finish, like this is one of those on that in rotation for that. Because obviously it is still kind of a mix, there's different artists here, but I thought this soundtrack was so good. And this of course features the other enormous song off of that, which was Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee, which we've talked about. But also just amazing collaborations on this, that Sony put together. We've got Juice World, Nicki Minaj, Jaden, Lil Wayne, Ty Dolla Sign, like amazing. This song in particular is like a favorite of mine. Great bass line if you can listen to it kind of loud with good bass speakers. I used to use it in my spin class for the climb section of the song because it's perfect. It's around that 50 to 55 beats per minute, which is a great, beats per minute to climb. And there's always this little moment like near the end of it where it gets a little bit quieter. That's where you kind of amp everyone up to like get ready to crank the resistance. And then you like climb it on the way home for the last like 30 to 60 seconds on the outro. So really love this song in particular. And honestly, though, that album is like a no skip album for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's my son's favorite movie, and he loves the soundtrack as well. So we listen to that one all the time.
Nice.
This song should be on everyone's workout mix, their strut mix, any positive mix. Like, you should have this song on there. I was actually mad at myself when I saw it on your list because I did not put it on mine, because I love this song. It is undoubtedly one of my favorites. And, if you're a little sad from a couple of the other songs on this mix, okay, just go back to What's Up Danger. It'll immediately pick up your mood.
Exactly. Yeah, it definitely will. Another one that I think will do that too, because this is like a great song. You went with You Never Can Tell by Chuck Berry, and I believe most notably featured in Pulp Fiction.
Yes, that's the movie I had in mind with this song. Yeah, I mean, Quentin Tarantino's movies are kind of known for their soundtrack. I mean, I feel like he's got a lot of great music in them, and he's great at picking older songs you may not have heard before and working them into these movies, and you don't think they're going to fit, but they fit so well in these just surreal scenes that he puts together. Um, but this one in particular, I mean, in the movie Pulp Fiction, that's where you get, I think, a young Uma Thurman as well as John Travolta, who hadn't been heard from in a while. Okay, there was Urban Cowboy, and then he took a break. No, I'm kidding. There were a lot of movies in between. But Pulp Fiction was considered a little bit of a comeback, and you get him dancing in this one. But other tracks on this soundtrack, we got Let's Stay Together by Al Green, Son of a Preacher Man by Dusty Springfield, Flowers on the Wall by the Statler Brothers. It's a great soundtrack overall. I picked this song because I just think it's a fun song. Chuck Berry was actually in prison when he wrote this song, and it was released in 1964. But yeah, I mean, most people came to know it 30 years later when Pulp Fiction came out. So yeah, just great song, great soundtrack.
Agreed. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I loved the story that is being told throughout all the different verses. I think it's a lot of fun.
All right, your last pick, track 11. We've got King's Dead by J Rock, Kendrick Lamar, Future, and James Blake, and this is from Black Panther.
Yeah, just another powerhouse like hip hop album, that goes along with the movie. You've got Kendrick Lamar like all over this. You've got like Weekend as well. That was like another lead single with Pray for Me and Kendrick Lamar, and then All the Stars with Kendrick Lamar and SZA. So just amazing singles off of it. But the whole album is so good. This is another song that like if you can listen to it with a strong bass line, like you've got good headphones or speakers with good bass, like listen to it loudly because it's just so good. It hits really, really hard. And yeah, I don't know. I love this song. I love all the rapping on it. I love Kendrick and Futures, and even J Rock opening it up. I mean, just incredible start to finish. And I love kind of the anger in the end there whenever Kendrick is singing like F your blank over and over, like you're this, you're that, you're this. Because he's singing it from the point of view of like Killmonger, who is like the antagonist in the film, who kind of like takes the seat of the throne and is like, I disagree with everything that you've been doing, so F it all, I'm going to change it. And I think that that's something that I think many times in our life, one of us have felt, at some point or another, where you kind of just want to be like, oh my God, I'm done with all of this. I'm going to do it completely differently. And so I like that energy sometimes, like whenever you're feeling a little frustrated, I think you can really relate to that part of the song for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And this is, I mean, you're right. I mean, this whole movie was significant, right? Like, it was a massive hit, but yeah, the soundtrack that went along with it, I think really matched it as far as quality, but also just energy, and this song is a really good fit for the storyline, and it's just a great song in and of itself. So yeah, great pick.
Awesome. All right, last track. Admittedly, I don't know where this is from, so you're gonna have to tell me. But the track is "Baby, I'm a Big Star Now" by Counting Crows.
Okay, this is from the movie Rounders, okay, with Matt Damon and Edward
Okay.
Norton. This plays during the closing credits. And funny story about this song is that played during the closing credits, but it was never released on any album because I don't even think the Rounders had an official soundtrack that was published. And so the only way for a long time you could hear the song is if you watched the movie Rounders and and stayed through the closing credits. Yeah. And it turns out they recorded it around the time they were producing the album This Desert Life, which came out around 1999, but they just couldn't find a spot for it. And so it's on the soundtrack, and then it just kind of sat. And then in 2008, they put out an album called Saturday Evenings and Sunday Mornings, or Saturday Nights and Sunday Mornings. And they end up putting it on that, soundtrack or that album. With no real acclaim to it, but those of us who remember the song from the Rounder soundtrack immediately picked up on it. Like, wait a minute, this is the song. Like, I don't have to watch the whole movie. Although I'd watch that movie, I've already watched that movie 100 times. I'd probably watch it again to get to the end. I love that movie. More recently, if you're a fan of the FX series The Bear, they include this song, I think, in season 2 at some point. And that's a series that's got a great soundtrack as well. But this has got a classic kind of Counting Crows feel to it, and it's perfect for the movie Rounders because, certainly Matt Damon is trying to be a big star in that one.
Nice. Yeah, no, I've never seen Rounders, so I'll have to go check that one out. Similar to you and 500 Days of Summer, I feel like I've heard a lot about people really liking that movie, so I might have to check that one out. I'm probably more likely to watch that than Urban Cowboy, but, we'll see.
I was going to say, I'd bet money you would probably actually enjoy Rounders, and you're definitely going to hate Urban Cowboy, but again, if you ever have a couple hours, it may be worth it. Okay.
All right. But yeah, this is a great track and a really nice way to end the mix. I'm always here for Counting Crows, and another 99 pick. So always happy to listen to music from 1999.
All right. Well, there you have it. Another super awesome mix for your collection. Hit us up on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. Let us know what movie soundtrack song we might have skipped over, but you could certainly follow and share this everywhere. Leave us a 5-star review. And in the meantime, Sammer and I will get to work on more mixes. So for Sammer, this is Matt. We'll see you next time. Super Awesome Mix is brought to you by DLM. Make shopping easy with DLM, the one-stop shop for all your casual clothing needs. Shop DLMsupplyco.com and enter the promo code AWESOME at checkout to save 15% off your first purchase. That's DLMsupplyco.com.